Are you ready to purchase or refinance a home? With over 20 years of experience in the banking and finance industry, Andy Pfaffl is more than ready to tackle any concerns you might face during the finance process. He pays for every appraisal, charges one simple fee, and he makes himself available to his clients 24/7, 365.
Call Andy today for a free consultation and experience for yourself the network funding difference of integrity, reliability, and simplicity. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wills.
And I'm Ashley Steigerwald.
We have a guest today, Holly Calloway with the Powerhouse Consulting Group.
Hey.
Finally, I'm glad you're finally here.
Me too.
We've been in touch and back and forth and had to cancel.
Yeah.
Life's happening.
Life.
So you're
Summer
finally.
life even.
Yeah.
Summer life
It
with
is.
moms. Yeah.
Yes.
It's been crazy, but I'm really glad to be here too.
I know. I'm excited you're here. So you have a big Facebook group.
Yeah.
And we're part of that group.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, you're consulting for entrepreneurs, small business, and just helping women.
Yep.
In general.
Women in general. Women's empowerment is kind of the name of the game.
Okay.
And then with a special emphasis on women in business. So.
Awesome. How did you start that?
Oh my goodness. I'm actually a chiropractor by degree.
Okay.
And so when I was opening my chiropractic practice, I'd just come out of a world where there was a cohort, there were other people all the time who were kind of sharing in what was stressful and what was great and all of, celebrating the successes and the wins and the hard stuff all together. When you have that shared experience, it's amazing. And so as I was opening my clinic, I had groups of chiropractors, but they were all over the country. And I had some groups of women entrepreneurs, but again, they were kind of spread out all over the place. And I just wanted local people. I wanted to be able to go to a coffee shop and have a work beside and share in the strengths and the weaknesses and the successes and the failures and the whatever. And at the same time was trying to kind of find a target market for I do like this, it's a joke. It's one of the things we teach the most of. But I was trying to find a target market. And I was other female business owners are as stressed as I am.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good market. So we started hosting events, and I made the Facebook group. And I did it kind of for fun. And as I was learning how to run my business, I was also recognizing that within the group, if there was no engagement from me, there was no engagement. I'd always wanted it to be one of those things that we call it now the collective brain. At the time, I didn't have a name for it. And I always wanted it to be a place where people just came to share their stuff. But if I wasn't doing it, they didn't have an example to follow. So I started, I heard this cool marketing thing, and I would teach that. And I was in a couple of coaching groups. And so I would hear things from them and kind of put it in my own words and regurgitate it. And women started kind of coming there for that.
Like think tanks almost.
Yeah. And good, they didn't have time to read the marketing books. So if I was reading the marketing books and then sharing the principles, they could get it from me in little bite-sized pieces.
Right.
And I had a marketing binder, and it was the thing. This is where it all came from, right? Because I have pretty significant ADHD tendencies. And so if things aren't written down somewhere where I can come back to them, it's just gone forever. And so I had this, I called it a marketing binder. It was more than that, but I would share pieces out of it. And at some point somebody was like, can you just teach us the binder? I was like, sure. But that's definitely more than just a Facebook Live. We should do a workshop or something. So I did a marketing workshop one day, 6 hours. I charged $50, which now makes me I think I spent most of that in supplies because we actually created binders. And during that workshop, somebody said, would you take me on as a coaching client? Sure. Yeah. I don't know how much much I know about business than you do, but absolutely. And then I had a slight identity crisis in the middle of all of that and recognized I really liked coaching. I really love building strategy. That's what I do now more than we have a team of coaches, so I mostly build strategy. My brain really loves that. But it was somebody wanted to pay me to teach them what I knew. And that was, it's not revolutionary, but it felt like it. It's absolutely. So I took on one client, and then I took on several other clients, and then I closed my practice, and then I created an actual company out of this, and then it's grown to more than we have 14 team members.
Wow.
We take anybody from literally dream up stage. I don't even know what kind of business I want to open to selling 7-figure businesses and everything in between.
Well, I saw you had the layout of, where is your business fall in this. And so it starts with
Dream up.
Dream up.
Dream up to startup. So it's dream up, startup, ramp up, scale up, and then sell.
Okay.
Are kind of the phases, and we have programs, membership groups, whatever for each portion of that. we try to be full service. So we have an accountant and we have attorneys and we have marketing
Wow.
department and things like that. So if you literally just come in and say, I don't even know what kind of business I want to run, I just know I want to work for myself, I can work you through the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and right now, apparently it's like 40% of all small businesses are women-owned.
And we get 7% of venture capital funds. Seems fair, right?
Oh,
Wow.
right.
Which is why
That's very equitable.
right?
Wow.
which is why I do so much of what I do. A lot
Jeez.
of small businesses that are run by women are very small businesses.
Mhm.
So like a small business is anything below 35 employees,
Yeah.
I think, according to the SBA. So like even Ruth's Chris Steakhouse was considered a small business, right?
Okay.
At least for COVID reasons. And so when you look at like small business, men run franchises or corporations or companies or that can still technically be considered small business, and women run Etsy shops and boutiques
Mhm.
and daycares and bakeries and things like that. So women don't recognize a lot of the times. I was talking to Deb Sofield, who's the gal in Greenville. She helps do the TEDx coaching, and she's going to be a speaker at the symposium. And she said there was like a secret code book that women were never given that like men are born with. It's this very strange, they know that you can grow and scale and there's something bigger and they know all the financial pieces and what the background is. It's kind of like a secret handshake that for some reason, if you're not in that industry already, if you're not already within that like business back end, women just don't find out. And I was like, that's dumb. And I think that's what we need to be fixing. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really our mission is going, okay, women can build software companies. Women can build, one of our speakers is Michelle Russ. She owns the roofing company. It's literally just called the roofing company.
Right.
We were working with Laura Carbon, who owns Spencer Pest Control. Like women can be in these industries and grow
Didn't
something
you just
massive.
send me the HVAC?
Yeah, Hannah with Spring Air, SPRAIRE, Spring Air.
She's like,
Hannah.
this girl's
She's
awesome.
amazing. I'm a
She
huge
is.
fan.
Not to
Yeah.
mention, she takes amazing Instagram photos. Like I cannot. That combination just
There you
just a
go.
beautiful thing. But yeah, women in these industries, and I keep finding myself the only woman at big tables of people who are asking for the funding and equity groups and things like that because our brains just don't go there. We just weren't handed that book, you know.
Women have a hard time asking.
Well, and it's so I was at a women's conference the past 10 days in New Mexico, and I did a session on imposter syndrome, which was huge for me. I'm a voracious reader. You know, I can read 15, 20 books a month sometimes. And several years ago, listening to an Audible in the car, and it was The Secret Life of Successful Women, I believe. And I had vaguely heard about imposter syndrome before, and when it came up, I about wrecked my car out on not far from here, out on Lawrence Road. I about wrecked my car because it was like somebody was shining a flashlight into my soul. It's so varied and it's so complicated and yet so simple on, I think, why women at least, so I'm very involved in the Boy Scouts America. I'm on one of the national committees, and at this past conference, standing up in front of a room that was this is not my term. This is one of the national people from Scouts, pale, male, and stale. And one of the things we were talking about is, it's like Thanksgiving, where a lot of times us women are sitting at the kids' table, which is in the other room. And we're not trying to take your seats at the table. We're asking you to put all of the Thanksgiving leaves in and round everybody up around the table.
Exactly.
And it's the fake scarcity that sometimes as women we perceive that there's only one or two seats for us at the table, and so we tend to squabble for them. And it is fake. It is not real. It is a perceived scarcity, and we have to stop doing it.
Is that what imposter syndrome is?
Imposter syndrome is the feeling that, and it's varied. A lot of times it comes from if you start at a low socioeconomic class and suddenly find yourself succeeding. If you were a stay-at-home mom and all of a sudden you're in business and you're doing well, but it's this idea that at any moment, someone's going to pull the rug out from under you and everybody's going to realize you're a fraud.
Oh, gosh.
And so you live with this feeling that you're somehow not supposed to be where you are. You ended up by luck, because you're nice, because somebody wanted to help you. And even though you have achievements, you have the data, you have the evidence that you are a highly successful person, a woman, you somehow feel like you just don't belong there. And that literally imposter, that you are the imposter in the room.
And it's way more common. I have this conversation all the time, and men will say, like, well, men struggle with that too. And I'll ask them, well, explain it to me. Explain how you feel when it comes to imposter syndrome. And it's a lot of times like, oh, well, I'm definitely a step below the guy next to me. Whereas women, we're like, they're going to find out that I am trailer trash.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, which is, we have, there's a small subset of the Powerhouse that we call ourselves the trailer trash. During COVID, we were the ones who were doing every Tuesday night. We were jumping on Zoom because we missed people, right? At some point in one of those calls, we realized it just in conversation, literally every single one of us had lived in a trailer as a child. Every single one. And in the South, not weird. I'm from Iowa. Like, have you ever seen 8 Mile? And like those trailer parks, that's all that exists. Like, nice trailer parks aren't a thing. And so I was like, to go from there to here, and they were all like, yes, exactly. And every single one of us was like, somebody's going to find out. Somebody's going to figure out that I'm a fake, that I'm a fraud. Not that we've grown into different people.
Right.
But that we're somehow a fraud. And with men, they'll argue with me, well, we have imposter syndrome. And I'm like, but it's not the same. Like, men have this inherent confidence in whatever they're doing. And even if they know they could get better, they're not worried that somebody's going to figure out that they're faking it. If anything, they're just really good at it. Like, overly confident.
And the statistics on like applying for jobs, whereas women tend to, if there's 16 qualifications, if they don't meet 15 out of the 16, they don't apply. Whereas men typically see the first 3 or 4 and say, I'll figure out the rest. So they apply for the job. And we tend to hold ourselves back because of imposter syndrome or, some of these other reasons. But yeah, I can get up on a soapbox about imposter syndrome all day long.
All day long.
Yep.
And it's one of the mindset's one of our biggest. When I started, I didn't anticipate that being the thing that we talked most about, and truly, because everything is broken down into marketing, sales, business growth, and mindset. So you would think a business group, marketing, sales, business growth, huge, right? We spend so much time and energy on mindset because helping a woman recognize her own strengths and claim them and use them, like that empowerment. I always say, like, I can't empower you, but I can help you find that empowerment, right? Like, it's my job to just dig down and help you recognize what you already have. But that process is a process. It's not like a flip of a switch. It's not like something I can say that's easy. I'm going to tell you once, and I'm going to tell you 52 more times in 52 different ways. And someday you're going to start to believe me and work on it yourself. And
so you're kind of life coach-ish.
It's a little bit life coach-ish.
It's kind of like real estate. You're part psychologist.
I know.
Counselor.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely a little bit life coach, pseudotherapy. Definitely nothing replaces actual therapy, but it's the brash kind. It's the I don't have it in me to be super sweet all the time. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. And so am I allowed to say bad?
Yes, you're allowed to say bad.
I didn't know if I could swear.
No, go for it.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is to be like, bitch, get your ass up. You've got to be kidding me right now. Do you see what you've built? Do you see what you've done? I want you to stand up, turn around, and look at it. You tell me what that is, and then you tell me why you're struggling today. Because I love you, and you can sit in those feelings if you want to, but
there's work to get done.
Get your ass up. And it's not even that there's work to be done. I want you to admit to me that you have done great things. Because if you can see that, we keep something called a hype file, one of my favorite tools mindset-wise. Every time somebody sends me oh my gosh, something you said changed the way I thought about something. Oh my gosh, working with you did XYZ in my business. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I met you at this thing, and now I'm a part of the group, or I'm a whatever. I'm so glad I met so-and-so through you. Every time somebody sends me one of those, I screenshot it, and I have a file on my phone, and I've been saving it for 2 years. I can go clear back down to the beginning of the very first thing I saved, and it's plenty. I mean, every couple of weeks I'll save something, right? And for 2 years, it ended up being a lot of stuff. But when I'm having a hard day, I've got 2 business partners. Carrie's one of them. So if I say Carrie, her. And she's also she's very much like me, where she doesn't take crap. You don't get to sit in your stuff for very long. And I'll be like, Carrie, I don't know what is going on today, but I am spiraling. I cannot pull myself out of this. I am not worthy of being, and mine's a worthiness thing. I didn't do anything to earn this. And she'll go, open your hype file. Girl, just open your hype file. You've got to be kidding me. You understand what you've done. Do you see all these people? Do you see all the ripples? And she starts to point it out. And then we run into ego. Women think it's egotistical to claim that we've done the things that we've done.
Well, it's funny. I was going to say, on the flip side of the imposter syndrome is when, maybe you are very outspoken or, strong. It comes across differently than a man in that same position. So you tend to just kind of shut yourself down a little bit so you're not perceived in a certain way.
And we totally advocate for forget that.
Yeah.
Right.
If there are enough women and
Mhm.
enough spaces saying, this is not cocky, this is not bitchy, I am really good at my job and I know it, and there's nothing wrong with that, it
Mhm.
becomes the norm.
Right.
But you have, like, it has to be, the kicker is how many people it has to be. It has to be an
Mm.
overwhelming majority of women in C-suite positions saying, I am bringing my baby to work. And you're going to work around it because I'm really good at my job and I can also be a mother. It's that many people sitting in a boardroom saying,
Mhm.
of course I'm not getting the coffee because I'm the only uterus at the
Mm.
table.
Mhm.
No, I'm not taking notes, Jerry. You can go ahead and do that this time. I am also in the same position that you are. Like, enough of us standing up and saying, you can see me however you want.
Mhm.
Women are strong in our own ways, and we are very capable of leading, and we're meant to be here. Quit putting me down. Quit putting me in a box. Quit paying me 70 cents on the dollar.
Is it 70?
70 cents on the dollar, 72 in Greenville, 72 cents on the dollar as of 2019. So a very recent study by the Darla Moore School.
That is so bad.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous that that's still a thing, and people will argue with me that the wage gap isn't still a thing, and it
It is.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely
That's
is.
actually terrible.
Yep. And our way around it is to help women start businesses,
Mhm.
scale businesses, hire other women at a living wage.
Yep.
Like, that was our solution to the problem. There are lots of solutions. There are lots of people working on really cool parts of the solutions. And for us, at the end of the day, I was like, this is a problem that we have every capability in the world of solving. So let's put everything we can into it and make it happen.
I think a lot of times too, like women who really know what they want feel like they have to apologize sometimes.
Mhm.
Like feel like they can't be perceived to do it all because if I'm doing 100% in work, then people are going to question me as a mom, for example, or a
Mhm.
wife. Like men, I don't feel like get questioned. Like, well, then how is he as a father if he's this successful?
Mm.
You know?
No,
Do you feel like that?
Yes and no. Yes and
do.
no. And I think it's because Bill's always been very
Mhm.
like 50-50, my husband, and very supportive of it. I mean,
Mhm.
like his dream is not that his dream is that like I'm gonna be the primary wage earner and
Chris
he
too.
can have he wants a license plate that says kept man. That's his like life goal. So that's a little bit different situation. But at the same time, I tend to be less concerned about what other people say or think.
Mhm.
So and it just may be my perception of it, because I don't care a lot of the
Right.
time.
Or a personality difference, or like how you were raised, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was raised in a household where the Powerhouse is literally named after my mother.
Mm.
When we were trying to come up with a name for the group, I was thinking about like, what do I like? Who are these women that like do all the things and I look up to and whatever? And anytime anybody would ask about like, who do I look up to? Where did I get these like tendencies from to just go and do the thing and not worry about what people think?
Yeah.
Like my mom, dude, she raised 5 kids as a single mom for part of that. And
Mhm.
when she was remarried, my dad had a hard time finding a job for a while because he was overqualified for most of the things that were in our area, blah, blah, blah. She raised us on a teacher's salary, but like worked and raised us and went to school,
Mhm.
got her master's degree, the whole nine. Like, that woman is a powerhouse.
Mm.
So that's where the
Mhm.
name for everything came from. We were raised in that. So when I was married, I was the breadwinner. Like,
Mhm.
I was the one to make sure stuff got done. But that being said, like, we had Tammy Johnson on the podcast, and she runs High Spirits Hospitality with 5 other companies underneath. She is an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah.
And she was like, it was really funny. I've got a 5-year-old now, and part of what she's talking about at the symposium is the ability to have kids and keep your company running. So
Mhm.
basically what she learned in the process of not letting her company go underwater at like the 3 she said, oh my God, I got to take 3 months off. Like, it was this big thing. And I was like, God, I love America. And sorry for any listeners
3
who are like not
months.
on that, but like every other developed country gets like 6 months to a year. And we're like, I got 3 whole months. Cause
Yeah.
normally people get like
Yep.
2 weeks, right? 2 to 6 weeks. So she took all that time off, but she gets questioned all the time. How did you do that? And she's like, nobody's ever asked my husband, not once.
Right.
And she runs 5 companies
Mhm.
and he runs a business,
Mhm.
not one time. It's
Right.
like, so I kind of like, yeah, we get that. But it's that like traditional, I think there's these like traditional viewpoints on male and female roles
Of course.
that it's going to take a significant movement to change the perception overall.
Mhm.
And if we're like, I feel like, and I spend a lot of time sort of meditating on, we're a small part of that, but we're also a part of that. Like, it's our
Mhm.
mission to make sure that some of those things are happening because the way women are treated, the way women are paid, it's not grossly poor.
Mhm.
And so people think it's okay.
Right.
It's like, but it's not there yet. There's
No.
still work to do. We're not there. And they want me to shrug it off and be fine with what I get. And I'm just not. We're not there yet.
And I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think, yeah, thank you. It's harmony that I every time I hear somebody ask me about work-life balance, I kind of cringe inside because it's a pendulum. And you're going to swing sometimes. You're going to swing, it's summertime right now. I'm swinging a little heavily on like scout stuff and kid stuff. And then there's times where I'm, it's the crazy season and I'm heads down business and my husband's going to have to hop in and take care. I was just in New Mexico for 12 days, right? I wasn't calling the check. I know he's got it. He's got the kids. He's going to keep the house. He's going to, and because we split everything. And he doesn't complain about it, but I know that I'm very privileged and lucky in that aspect. But
that's not the norm.
Work-life balance, I think, is just garbage, and we have to stop preaching that because I think that feeds into the guilt aspect. Because suddenly, if you're off balance, then somebody's in the lack, and I tend to really have a hard time with that. Because if my husband has to swing heavily on work, nobody thinks about how, like you said, nobody thinks, and so it needs to be vice versa. If I'm swinging heavily at work, then he needs to pick up a little bit more
at home.
Yeah,
and even if we have we have more women than I'm comfortable with, but it's the truth, who are like in domestic violence survival situations and things like that, where they're building their businesses to escape from whatever they've got going on, and we have to remind them constantly it is a pendulum, and that. This is one of my favorite concepts, and I really wish I could remember who it came from originally so I could cite the source because I'm big on that. But we're all juggling, right? And we have glass balls and we have plastic balls. And then recognizing that each task within a task is a ball. So like the kids aren't a glass ball. The kids' stuff consists of glass balls and plastic balls. So like, do we need to make sure the permission slip and the $10 for the thing on Friday are in? Yes. Do you have to have matching socks? Plastic ball. Don't care anymore. True. I sent my 4-year-old to daycare. Yes. I sent my 4-year-old to daycare the other day in flip-flops and one sock that belonged to I live with another single mom is how we like co-parent. We just live we have a 4-bedroom house. There are 8 of us. The 2 of us and our children. No romantic involvement between the 2 of us whatsoever. I think everybody. You
must blow the neighbors' minds, though.
Yes, we confuse everybody, which is amazing.
I love that.
But we're not the only women who do that we know of, which is amazing. I think everybody should live with their best friend at some point. It's an amazing time. So, but she has a 6-year-old whose feet are like 3 inches long, right? And I've got a 4-year-old though with like massive feet. And so he's got the 6-year-old. He's got the tiny sock on the one foot, flip-flop over it. And then one of his dad's socks up to the knee. On the other foot, flip-flop over it, and shorts. And we got to daycare, and I walked him up, and she opened the door, and I went, it was just the fight I was not willing to have today.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was like, and I show up there sometimes with makeup on, sometimes without, sometimes fully pulled together, sometimes fully pulled together, but with flip-flops on because I wasn't ready to put my shoes on yet, whatever. And I know she's just got to giggle and be like, Mama, like, she is so graceful and so amazing and so great to us. But I looked and I like just shook my head.
That's literally our group.
But it was the plastic.
Like,
it was the plastic ball.
I love that so much because you cannot keep all the balls up.
No.
You can't.
No,
it's
and you have to be able to look at it and decide which one is the plastic ball you're letting fall. And yes, with a grain of salt. Like,
because it bounces and you catch it later. I love that.
And you can always put them all down.
Yeah.
And decide which ones you want to pick back up. Same thing with work. Sometimes like getting that email out right now is the glass ball because that meeting has to happen tomorrow. I need to confirm that you're going to be there. I need to make sure that document gets signed, whatever. And sometimes that Facebook Live that I was maybe going to do today becomes the plastic ball because some kid was sick at daycare or because there's just something else more important came up, right? So it's not that work is one and kids are the other. It's the tasks within the tasks. And that changed my perspective on everything in that. And sometimes a glass ball becomes plastic and a plastic ball becomes glass. And just keeping aware of that as you work.
I love that.
Yeah, and that I always say the phrase to myself, and again, I think I picked this up from 4-Hour Work Week or something a long time ago, but just because something is important doesn't mean it's urgent. And I always have to remind myself of that. Like, this is really important. That does not mean it is urgent. Because it's saying my brain gets a little scattered sometimes, and I'm a half same. I have to write it down, or and sometimes when that email comes in, you feel like it's urgent. And then all of a sudden you're 27 steps off of what you really that core one or two things that you had to get done that day. So I all the time I say it to myself all the time, even when I'm driving. Oh, that's important but not urgent. File it away for later.
Yes. I love that so much. Yeah, absolutely.
One of my biggest struggles is like as a mom trying to not feel like I'm lacking one of the areas, because I feel like I get so stressed out that I want to do well at work, then I want to do well at home. So it's like I feel like I'm constantly
and so
in
much
this
grace.
battle.
Yeah, there has to be so much grace. I can't tell you. I do get a lot of I try to be authentic. Super authentic with everybody. I don't put out an Instagram life like that. That doesn't exist in my world. But also I still teach a lot. So I'm constantly talking about do this in your business, do this in your home, do this with your family, whatever. Do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. Yeah. But also I say take from it what you can and then leave the rest if it's not applicable or if it doesn't work for you. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's one right way for you, but there's not one right way for everyone. And so giving myself the grace of I'm honest when I hop on we do Friday empowerment meetups. They're just they're Zoom calls where we celebrate wins. We have the collective brain where everybody can kind of talk through their business issues, whatever. It's a really great way for me to know some of our non-paying members. And I can't tell you how many times I've hopped on still wiping mascara because this, my daughter she's 8. She was upset that, she ran out of tablet time or somebody took something from her or they were just being jerks that morning or whatever. Or she's gotten to the point where she knows which buttons to push and she'll say, Mom, why haven't we we've been promising date night for forever. I used to do so I'm recently single mom within the last 6 months. And so we used to do very regular date nights with each kid. And I don't have somebody to watch the other children right now as often. It's not as easy to just pick up and go as it used to be. It takes a lot more effort. And our company grew a lot in a very short amount of time. And so, but she remembers. The other two are kind of meh, but she remembers. And so there's a lot of like, you said we were going to. You said we were going to. You said we were going to. And I never wanted to be that mom that made promises you didn't keep. And so I will literally on like a Friday morning hop on still fresh from my car cry going like, I am the worst mom ever. Like you just feel terrible, right? But at the same time, like she'll hit 18 and look back at this and be like, oh my gosh, there was no way I could have had the perception of what was happening in that moment.
Right.
And the most important thing, the only important thing, honestly, to me at this point in their lives, they've got a lot of like mom figures. And so we've been going through this. What do you call each one of them? Like, are you mom one? Is she stepmom? Is this, that, is whatever. Right. My friend that I live with, what do we call her? I'm like, I don't care. Label them whatever you want to, because at the end of the day, I want you to know, I want you to inherently know, you can come to me if you need something and I am here for you. Everything else is whatever. You're fed, you're alive, you have friends, you're emotionally supported, and you know that at the end of the day, if you come to me, I am here for you. I don't care what you call me. I don't care what you call them. I don't care what else happens with our parenting.
I feel like it's so important to like just as women and moms know that all of us have such similar feelings. That's why it's so important to support each other.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like awareness. Like we talk about imposter syndrome. Awareness sometimes is just an amazing step forward of being aware of it. And then 2, like you said, the realness of it. It's just so easy to get caught up in the perfection of Instagram and the, you're going to see the 27, they may have taken 157 photos, but you're going to see the one perfect one. Right. And I think it's dialing back from that a little bit, a lot bit, because it's unrealistic. It's, when I got into really just decided I was going to really jump into real estate and kind of sell some of my other businesses or push them off in other directions. I don't follow any other realtors on social media. I just don't.
Brilliant.
I don't, because I don't need the comparison factor because I'm running my own race.
Yeah.
But it's so easy that comparison factor.
For sure. And
especially when you're doing bad.
When you have that one bad day and you're like, dang it, even she's doing like, awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. She's terrible.
Right?
She's
better than me. And all you see is that's the one house she sold this year, but you don't know.
Right.
But I love what you were tapping into in that we all have these things in common. Yeah. Like there are these common threads through all women, through all moms, through all female entrepreneurs. And honestly, at the end of the day, I love your group. I love this authentic moms feel, right? At the end of the day, the Powerhouse group is a community of women who are all going through the same crap together. And it doesn't matter if you are just starting or if you're selling that business, we are all going through all of these things
And
together.
trying to build
we have
each
that common
other
thread.
up.
And at some point, we adopted the phrase, a rising tide lifts all ships, and nothing has ever been more true. And we were talking about the competition, how like they pit women against each other, because that really benefits people who are selling things to make women feel better about themselves, right? If we can constantly be comparing. So if we can look at each other, it is the biggest FU to patriarchy, and I love it. I don't know if you could tell I have this like feminist edge to me, right? Like I really want women to succeed. And which I really think is what feminism is. And people give it such a terrible name, but I just want women to succeed. But I think it's the biggest FU to men who profit off of our insecurities when we stand side by side and go, you look bomb in that bikini. Like your lipstick is amazing today. I love those shoes. I love the way you held yourself in that meeting. I love the way you told that guy that this is what you were going to do and you drew the line in the sand. I love the way you're raising your kids. I love how polite they are. I love how not polite they are. And the fact that you let them like have their fit in the middle of Walmart. I love solidarity for the moms. I always do I want to do the Mockingjay when there's like some mom with the 3 kids in the cart and they're all losing their shit. And then you're like, oh no, and then she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm just glad it's not my kids today. Like
that was me yesterday.
Yes, so often. And you can just give them that like,
I like the moms who don't apologize. Their kids are in the cart having a meltdown. They're just like, what's up?
What's up? Yes, like, and you can do the eye contact. Yes,
I got
and you're
you,
like,
girl.
I know, I got you. It's fine.
It's
fine. We
Tell
lift
us
each other.
about the symposium.
I know you keep saying
yes,
the symposium.
I know.
You've been building this whole thing up.
That was intentional.
It was great.
Or it's just my entire life right now. It's one or the other. So the symposium was an idea that we've been building. We started planning pre-COVID. So it's one of those stories. But basically what we wanted to do was put some amazing Powerhouse women on stage to tell us their stories. All of them are Powerhouse members, but all of them have built companies, businesses with families, amazing, amazing stories. Most of them are local, which is really cool while we're doing it in Greenville. We started doing like podcast recordings with other women, and none of them have been as good as the women that I've met in Greenville. So like, I don't know why we didn't just start here. But some just amazing stories. And the point of the keynotes is to help you recognize yourself in them. We want you to walk away and go, okay, if they can do it, if Tammy Johnson can build a 5-company empire in Greenville, South Carolina, and have the revenue that she does, plus have a family, and just be like, she's killing it. If she can do it, Tammy's a totally normal human. I have sat and had coffee with her. Like, we've had conversations. If she can do it, I can do it.
Representation is so important.
It really is. And so we've
Please tell me of like women of color.
Oh, 100%. Perfect. Yeah, I think it's half women of color. We've got all ages, everybody from like 25 to 50. Oh, Deb is going to shoot me if I get this wrong. I'm going to say 50 something and stay on that edge. All ages. We've got people from the LGBTQIA community. It was very important to us that there was absolute representation all the way through. So you can see yourself. My hope is that every woman who ends up in the audience can see themselves on stage. And then the second day, we're doing workshops. So if you saw a keynote and you were like, I love their story, I want to learn what they know how to do, they've taken their area of genius and they're teaching it. Plus, we have another 20 women out of the Powerhouse who are doing what they do. So if they're good at sales, marketing, mindset, whatever it is, they're teaching that. So we've got one on imposter syndrome. We've got one on mental fortitude. I'm teaching the tiny target market method, which is our like trademark method, and one on business basics. We're teaching on product roadmap, like all these cool business things. So even if you come in and you're like, it feels like a women's empowerment conference, by the end of the day, you could look at it and be like, I could potentially run my own business if I wanted to. Like,
so anybody, obviously any women.
All women.
All women.
It's women's leadership, women's empowerment for sure, and then entrepreneurs.
But I love what you said in the beginning, because I think people misconstrue that word empowerment as if it's something that somebody can give to somebody else. And you said it really beautifully in the beginning, that it's something that somebody chooses to accept and build within themselves. But you can give them the tools sometimes, but it's that personal decision. I don't think anybody can be empowered by anybody else. You empower yourself with the information and tools that you learn. So I think that's beautiful. So where can they register for the symposium? And I've heard there's a gala. How do you say it in the South?
I
say gala.
Gala.
So normally, I think I would say gala, but it's the Diamond Gala. And for some reason, that rings in my ear. Plus, we had a couple of men who were like, we should call it the gala because it's for women. And I was like, immediately,
now it's gala.
No, now it's gala, right?
Definitely a gala.
Definitely a gala. The Diamond, so the event, the symposium itself, if you want to come for a keynotes workshop and say that's all you want to do, that's on October 16th and 17th. So that's a Saturday, Sunday. Prior to that, we have VIP tickets available, which I'm stoked about. And the more I talk about them, the more I really feel like we should have charged more for them. But whatever, it's too late.
Hurry up and buy them before she changes her mind.
Before I change my mind,
There's
the
a
price
price
gets
increase.
jacked up. So the Friday before, we're doing a sales workshop. So if you get the VIP ticket, that comes with. In August, to do a little bit of fundraising. So we have lots of women who during COVID were furloughed or laid off that we scholarshiped through our programs. And so we're doing fundraising to get them to the symposium itself. So we're doing a diamond gala. So you can buy tickets for just the gala if you want to. And that's going to be on August 6th. If you have a VIP ticket, I'm not going to lie. All of this stuff is amazing. I'm really excited to be working with everybody. But a personal dream of mine has always been to do a pop-up speakeasy. So when David was like, we really need to do something on that Saturday, I was like, ooh.
Pop-up.
We're gonna do a pop-up speakeasy that I'm helping design, and it is the funny. In my mind, it's the funniest thing to be like this jazzed about. I'm so excited, and it's for our VIP ticket holders only. So we've got the fundraiser on that Friday, and then this pop-up speakeasy on Saturday. All of the tickets, if you want to buy them in bulk for your company, if you want to like just get one for yourself, if you want to do VIP, if you want to come to the symposium, if you only want to come to the gala, whatever, all of it, shatteredglasssymposium.com.
And then what you said about the women being furloughed from COVID, this is something that I've been deeply concerned about, is how COVID is going to set back women in business, because while so many have realized they can work from home and thrive, there's been so many women who have either been furloughed, been laid off, or had to leave work because of their kids were home, and I've been very concerned about it.
It was a really interesting time frame for us because I started my business officially, quit everything else. This was my full-time job, November 2019. Right. So by April of 2020, women were coming to me in literal droves. What do I do? How do I turn this thing that I've loved to do for my entire life into something that can make me money, because now I have no income? Like, I don't have to pay my mortgage right now, which is lovely, but eventually those back payments are going to be due, and I don't know if I'm going to have a job at the end. And so we were doing, oh my goodness, the amount of strategy sessions we did, courses we did, coaching we did, whatever. And all but there's one woman who went back to her job. Everybody else is successful in whatever they chose to do, to a point that makes them happy to be there, right? Like their version of success, whatever that is for them. So it turned out really well for us, and I'm really glad that we could do that. But I know that there are still women that happened to who have no idea who we are. And so like getting things like this out there so that they can find that help that they need and the support. And like I said, we're full service, and you can participate in the free group only, and you can do everything up to joining our mastermind, like in everything in between.
Yeah.
So we do as much as we can to make sure that women are successful in their businesses.
Awesome. Well,
And where can they find your group? If they
So if you go to Facebook, it's the Powerhouse, 3 words. Powerhouse Consulting. Powerhouse is 1 word because it's actually 1 word. I started a group without checking.
I love your honesty. Keeping it real.
Right? So I keep them separate. In my head, it's an interesting thing to constantly tell other people. So the Powerhouse, 3 words. Right now, the display picture is the Shattered Glass Symposium, so you can find it. It's black. And yeah, join us. Man, we would love to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. This is so much fun. I love when recordings are
And your
actually so much
podcast,
fun.
where can they find your podcast?
The podcast is called She's a Powerhouse. It's on all major whatever. So we're also on Instagram, Facebook, all the things with Shattered Glass Symposium, She's a Powerhouse, the podcast, the Powerhouse Group, myself as a professional public speaker, blah, blah, blah. Public speaker in air quotes. It's not like I do that professionally, but
Put your hands down.
now,
No air quotes.
No
now
air
say public. There you go.
and not like a smart aleck, maybe public speaker. So myself there as well. So you can find me on all the social medias.
Great.
Cool.
Well, thank you
Thank you so much,
again.
guys.
Thank
This
you.
was so much fun.
Yeah,
I
of
appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time. We want to thank our sponsors real quick. We want to thank Wilson Associates Real Estate. It is still a great time to be selling.
Oh my, it's a fantastic time. Hurry up. Hurry
Really
up.
great. We want to thank Parham Smith Arch and Hold. We want to thank Blackacre Law, the closing attorneys, and Andy Pfaffl with Network Funding. So thank you all for your support. We couldn't do this without you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.